Good evening, everybody. Tonight, it is Tuesday, the 12th of November, on episode 161 of So What's Been Happening. Thanks to everyone that joined me last night. We did a podcast last night with artist Justine McAllister, and we chatted about her new exhibition in Melbourne, Romantic Rebellion. So tonight, we move back to the music world. We talked about combining art and music last night, but there's a beautiful way that art and music is tied together, especially in amongst film clips and visuals, album covers. So there's a really beautiful tie-in in amongst music. So tonight we get a chance to tap into Jack Nolan's lounge room, and hopefully, as he sips on a nice cup of tea, we can have a little chat about his life and journey in music, and also, most importantly, his new album, which we will talk about shortly, called The Songs for Hemingway. All right, let's bring Jack up for a chat. Welcome, Jack, to episode 161. Also,
hey, Aaron. How are you, mate? Thank you for having me. Very impressed with your savvy tech abilities. I must say.
It's all on the fly, so it can come undone pretty quickly. So it's definitely a challenge, that's for sure. Let's put that one out there. That I have a very good understanding. Some people say that this ability of being trying to press buttons and talk and do all those kind of things at the same time, but what you musicians do amaze me in amongst being able to sing, play multiple instruments. Incredible. So it wows me every time on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, well, I wish I was better at what you do. So healing's mutual.
And speaking of a great mutual connection that we have that put this and helped tie us together is Chris Familton. Thank you, Chris, for connecting Jack and I, giving us an opportunity to have this chat tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
All right, let's kick off, Jack, with a bit of a curly one. Is there a lyric or a riff on a song or an album that you wish you had written?
Oh,
have a curly one to start.
Let me think about that. I must admit, I know this is going to go right back, and I know it's a very common album, but I always loved that line as a kid on Dark Side of the Moon: hanging on in quiet desperation is the British way. I just remember the way he sang that. I've always been really attracted to lyrics, and I could mention a lot of lyrics I love. A lot of, Nick Cave comes to mind, obviously Bob Dylan, but I don't know why that's always stuck with me, that line.
Yep.
And it's possibly the way he sang it too. So yeah, that'd be my answer to the question lyrically.
Sure. And what do you... Yeah, sorry, keep going. Musically, yeah.
Well, musically, I'll let me come back to you. I'll think about it while we're talking.
Yeah, feel free to jump in at any stage. Let's touch on how good it is to be recording again in today's environment, when times are tough for a lot of people. Being able to get in a studio and put an album together and put some songs out, keep things fresh, and attribute, obviously, this album as well with some of these songs. Must be a special time to just put music out again.
Yeah, well, I'm older now, and I'm a grandfather, and my kids have all grown up, so I don't have any responsibilities, and I don't really have. I mean, I love life and I do lots of great things, but my real passion is music. I don't play golf. I don't have any other passion like that. My real passion is writing, and I work hard at it. And I'm fortunate. I always feel, particularly these days, when I was younger, a lot of it was more about the chase and doing the live stuff, which I still do as much as I possibly can. But the beauty for me of recording is that it's something that I can control, the people I work with and the environment that I work in. So, and I love working in the studio, and my goal is to continue to try and release an LP at least every 18 months. So that's the plan. So yeah, it's always great to record, and it's been particularly good since COVID.
Great. That's very positive to hear because it's been a bit of a different place for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But finding it, you just come off the back of a couple of weeks ago putting an album launch together. How was sold out album launch? I'm led to believe as well. So just tell me how'd that go?
Well, great. I mean, I'm starting to do a lot more salon gigs, so we did a couple of shows in the Blue Mountains, released the record at the Coogee Diggers Club with the band, and then also released the album, what we're doing now, I'm starting to do now, and I think I'm hearing a lot more of it. I know it happens with a lot of friends in New York and places in America, where you literally put the gig on at home and you have select friends and invite friends over that way. That's been a good way to do it as well. But the launch itself was great. It's just great to have another record out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're going to touch on the latest single, Hold On. This one, we get a chance to feel and see a little bit of the lyrics flash up across the screen as this one's played. So have a little sip of your tea while we play this one.
Okay.
Hold on.
Paper, air is thin. The fat man taken here again. In the mirror, my eyes are blinking. They tell me again, hold on. Heretofore, don't run back in anymore. In the mirror, my mind's a thinking. It tells me again, hold on.
There we go. That's okay. We cut it off short. Caught you mid sip there. It's a great track. I thought I'd leave a few people hanging to make sure they jump on and listen to the rest of that track. We're going to play little pieces of a few of your songs tonight, but Hold On in particular. Yeah. It's an emotive one in respect of it can mean multiple things. Hold on, but I think it's pretty fitting in today's world. What's it mean to you?
Well, Hold On is the whole song itself is just about literally that, when you wake up, for me anyway, over the years, waking up thinking, could I be bothered? Like sometimes with life, you just got to get on with it. And, you look at yourself first thing in the morning. I mean, for me anyway, I look at myself first thing in the morning sometimes and think, come on, let's go, And, I try and be as positive as I can in life. And it's just it sort of speaks to that, I guess. And it's a kind of funky, very simple song, like so much of my stuff, like so much of all music. It's very simple. It came together quite quickly, and I just like the title, so I sort of built it around that.
Great. Is that any different to some of the rest of the songs on the album in respect of maybe how you wrote that one or how that one came together, or is that a pretty common path of how you put this album together?
Well, Aaron, my process is my writing process, particularly nowadays, because I'm much more disciplined with it. So I try and write. I'm always writing, and more or less every week I'm up very early and I'm at the desk writing. And my process is, I also fiddle with the guitar like somebody might doodle with a sketchbook, and I'll always have a guitar in the living room, whatever, and I'll be watching TV. Sometimes when I'm otherwise distracted with, I might be watching football or whatever, I'll be playing something, and it's almost like I'm the third person, and I hear something that I like, and I always use my iPhone, and voice memos is my recording studio, and I've got hundreds of ideas that I record as I go, and I might hum a melody over it and come up with words like "hold on," or I might have no melody, just garble, and then I leave it, and I don't try not to come back to it quickly, so that it just goes. I approach it again another day, and I go through all these voice memos and try and work out what I think is worth investing in, and then. Quite often I'll write up a song based on some ideas that I've recorded like that, and I'll think it's great, but the whole song hasn't been worthwhile. And then I'll find what I've really got is just a whole song full of lyrics that I'm never going to use. And other times stuff like "Hold On" will live and be something that I'll put to Justin, who's my long-term producer. And so this is, send a batch of songs to him, and then we come up with a group of songs to record. But normally every record I would have written up 20 songs that I think are worthy, of which we'll usually choose 10 or 11. But that's the process. And some of them come together really quickly. Like you mentioned, one of the tracks that I love on the record is "Mother of All Storms." And that was a song that's tuned in, for any guitar players out there, you probably know yourself, the tuning dadgad, which is more or less an open D tuning, with a capo on the third fret. So you're effectively an open F. And I was literally just playing around with that tuning, and that came together really quickly. The lyrics came together really quickly. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a great song, but that was one song on the record that did happen quickly. And to cut me off if I'm talking too much.
No, that's fine. Go for it.
I believe too that if you do the hard work, which is something that I do a lot more these days, you get what I call those freebies. They come from out of nowhere, but you've got to be doing the grind every day, writing, or as much as you can writing, for those opportunities to present themselves. It's a weird thing how it works for me. I don't know, why that happens. Sometimes it might be just an amalgamation of all these different ideas that you've been trying to work up, and something comes to you quickly. I'm not sure, but there's a bit of a magic in it, and I think that's what always attracts me to melodies and writing. There's a mystery to songwriting. I'm sure all songwriters would agree with that.
Beautiful. Well, let's touch on "Mother of All Storms" now, as I just hear the rain start in Melbourne town right now and patter on the roof. I'm hoping like hell it's not the "Mother of All Storms" right now, but here's "Mother of All Storms" off the new album for Jack Nolan.
Hold your breath and count to 3, 'cause the clouds they
Beware, the mother of all storms.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I'm so glad that it was one that came together quickly for you, because it feels like there's so much layering on that, just in amongst the guitars and the quite strong and intense lyrics.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
I think the big hit of the album.
Yeah. I think the layers you talk about, I'm always surprised how powerful and masculine the mandolin is. This tiny little thing that you're playing like this, literally, and it just packs such a punch. It's really toppy, but the guy that's playing it is a master musician, but Justin Weaver, and I love the mandolin. It really drives that song, and the acoustic guitar. My acoustic guitar drives it too, and the lyric. But yeah, it's got a real intensity to it that I love, and I've always, I've been told by other people I've collaborated with that there's sometimes a tension to my music, and I like a bit of tension. And we live in a world where and that's what the song's about, really, all the tension that's going on. And yeah, I like it. It moves well too.
Yeah, I think it's got one of those ones where it builds nicely, and it's got it really does reflect on the words and the lyrics in amongst that storm building, and you're kind of waiting for that big wave to crash almost. Yeah, it's very well done. And also the typed lyrics, and where you've got it showing up on for people that aren't watching, the visual component of this podcast, to the lyrics come up in typed mode in amongst that, and some letters back in the old typewriter days when you used to cross letters out in backspace, almost the old backspace.
That was a play on Hemingway, trying to have the old-fashioned typewriter, because the album Songs for Hemingway was the title of the record for a number of reasons, but I wanted to sort of capture that sort of old-style typewriter vibe like Hemingway would have used.
Sure.
And so I sort of stuck with that theme.
And why a tribute to Hemingway now with you in this point of your music career?
Well, there's another song on the record that I'm really proud of, Tofino. And I was in Canada at a place called Tofino, which is on Vancouver Island. And at the time I was there, I was reading The Old Man and the Sea, and which is Hemingway's novelette. It's a brilliant book, and the whole theme of that book really is that Hemingway said, he just went out too far. Like he bit off more than he could chew. It's a beautiful metaphor. And I was really moved by that, and I was really moved by the place, because it was the middle of winter, and I grew up on pretty much on Bondi Beach, and we were there in the middle of winter. It was really quite weird. The Canadians were out socializing at night, sitting around a fire on the beach in like literally freezing cold weather. Nothing like we get in Australia, certainly around the coast where you and I are. It was freezing, and guys were getting out of the surf at sunset and dusk, and kite surfers and swimmers. It was just really amazing to see how dedicated they were to the outdoors. And it was an unusual place, I felt, as I was reading the book. And in Tofino, I sing that Tofino, we're too far out to sea, which is a play on the whole theme of that book. So I thought, if I'm going to they weren't his words, but they were my take on his novel. I just thought it might be nice to dedicate the songs to him, because he's such a great writer.
Perfect tribute and a great combination.
Not too deep. Not too deep.
No, not at all. But someone that's super passionate about their songwriting as well. And I think you probably couldn't find a better author, to some might say, in amongst so many famous authors. But kind of why was it really Hemingway for you, and not kind of someone else? Obviously, you just touched on, kind of why. But was there ever a thought in amongst this, or put it this way, is there any other writers that have really kind of influenced your songwriting?
I must admit, I'm not a great novel reader. I'm pretty slack. Songwriting's perfect for me because it's 3 minutes. I never finished school. I just had the ADD thing, and I couldn't sit still. And I've come across writers that have enabled me to read because they're so good. John Steinbeck's another novelist I like. You know, there's a number of them, but those American guys like Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden, they're brilliant books. Charles Dickens too. I've loved his work. Bit harder to follow, but his writing and his style is beautiful. So I really appreciate that era when people were really dedicated to everything's so fast now and instant. And, you know, you're scrolling through and watching things for 3 seconds. And those guys and girls came from an era where, you know, it was long form and dedication to finishing a long piece of work. So, and there's some classic art in all of that stuff. That's what I found. There's still great, of course, there's still great art today, but yeah, that's what I'd probably say to answer that question.
Do you think we sit back and reflect enough these days, Jack? I know you kind of touched on our attention span these days is almost not much more than 15 seconds, to be perfectly honest, given let alone 3 minutes to listen to a full song or album. But do you think we sit back and reflect? Obviously, you know, you being a passionate writer and part of your daily kind of journey or ritual or outpouring, there's a lot we could learn from that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said before, and as you're saying, everything has become so instant, and our attention span is pretty much dictated to, let's be honest, by the digital world. And look, it enables us to do this. It enables us to, platforms like Spotify and Apple Music enable me to get, and all the artists that you're interviewing, we all get to release our music to the world. And I think that's a positive thing. I think the digital age offers a lot of great stuff, but it's also a great distraction for a lot of us. So, yeah, I think without getting too deep, I think it's about trying to find that balance and having rules around that sort of instantaneous stuff and online, because, yeah, I think when I read novels and, you know, the work that goes into it, you know, there's a lesson to be learned from that for sure.
I still think I'd like to be known for falling down a rabbit hole into a good book than falling down a rabbit hole in amongst YouTube. Yeah, sadly, sure. That's probably what my generation is going to be a little bit known for. But
yeah,
I'd like to think that you're a touch older than me, Jack. But I'd like to think that, you know, from your generation and well before you, that, you know, computers and that sort of side of things weren't such a sidetrack. But yeah, a beautiful way to be able to. Have you ever thought and pondered how many songs or thoughts you've really actually put in a book and or multiple books?
I'm inspired by everything, but yeah, not really. I just always write down ideas and try and merge them with music, but I don't have a process like that so much now.
Yeah. Have you found yourself kind of flicking back through old books, finding out stuff you wrote years ago and seeing if you wanted to drag up a little bit of that and into, you know, on a reflection of where you are now?
More my old lyric books, because I write in a book. I don't do anything on iPad. I know some guys now. A lot of the guys in Nashville will literally write lyrics with the pen on the iPad. I've got to put pen to paper. And going back to my early 20s, I've got a number of volumes of scribble all over the place, and all my lyric books that only I understand. Sometimes I go back often to them, and you know, if I'm looking for inspiration or I'm suffering from a bit of writer's block, and some of the songs that didn't make it will have lyrics that have been good, and I might, you know, borrow that and take it across. But I don't go back and look at old novels as such.
Is there anything you've listened to kind of in the last, let's say 6 months, new album or an artist you found, or even maybe a young artist that kind of is really influencing you at the moment or you're really connecting with?
what I've probably been, if I had to, I go through periods where I listen to no music for a week. And then I go through periods where I listen to a lot of music. It's a weird thing that I do. I have met a lot of musicians that will be working on albums and they don't listen to anything else. So it's not completely rare, but probably the last 12 months, I've been listening to most, if I had to pick something that would have got the most airplay. I'm a big Dylan fan, not necessarily, and I'm a big Dylan fan of his work through his career, but I think one of his standout records in my life was Time Out of Mind, which Daniel Lanois mixed. And I always loved, and the guys I work with, well, Justin Weaver, who we can talk about later, we've done 4 albums together and we'll do another one next year. Justin and I both connected on that record and a few other records, many of them by Lanois. And I always loved Time Out of Mind and those mixes. I don't know if do you know Fragments?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Those remixes, and don't ask me the name of the guy, but I never thought I'd hear a better mix of what Lanois did, but those mixes are phenomenal. And there's a song, I just think that album goes even higher in my estimations after I heard those mixes, particularly a couple of the songs. Cold Iron's Bound, I just think it just absolutely blows my head off. So that's the stuff that I've been revisiting, and the remixes. And there must have been some kind of gardening leave, or what's the expression when you're not allowed to touch it for 30 years, I think. What do you call that? Non-compete. Lanois must have had something in a contract to say it can't be touched for however long, because they came out so many years after that record. That was from the early 90s, I think. But those remixes are phenomenal. That stuff stands up anytime.
Yeah. And if there was another style of music that you kind of maybe thought now you'd like to experiment, or you maybe another path you thought you might have possibly gone down, is there one? Or, what could it have been for you?
I'm pretty happy where I am. I started out, I was a bit later to the show than a lot of guys. Like, I started performing and recording in my late 20s as opposed to 18, 19, for a number of reasons. Life held me up because of my lifestyle and everything else. And I got my shit together, excuse the French, in my later 20s. And I was playing in solo and duo gigs up and down Oxford Street in Sydney. And there was this kind of little folk alt, what we used to call the Darlinghurst Country scene. And a lot of guys like me and girls out playing solo or in duos. And my love of music came from, basically being way too young, smoking too much pot and playing acoustic guitar and sitting in my bedroom. So that's where my love of music came, and realising that David Bowie and Bob Dylan weren't actually music geniuses. They were playing a D chord just like the D chord I was playing. And that opened a whole world up for me, because I always thought as a kid that they were just musical geniuses and I'd need to go and study or something. And I realised if you can play acoustic guitar, you can play. And that was where I fell in love with my music, or my style, music itself, because I could do it on the acoustic guitar. And those gigs were solo gigs and duo gigs, and they were great. And then a big change happened for me a couple of years after that, where my old friend Rick Grossman, who's still the bass player for the Hoodoo Gurus and was the bass player on the Divinyls, he was looking for somebody to do a record with and needed a singer. And I had a song that's on the, I don't know if you know of my career in the Kelly Gang, but Rick and I started the Kelly Gang together.
Yep.
And Rob Hirst played drums on that record, Martin Rotsey. So there was some pretty big names on that record. And I came from a little folk scene. And Rick said, I'll bring these guys in and we'll play. And I was really overwhelmed, because it was just after Peter Garrett had gone into politics. And I thought, I'm never going to match it with these guys. And Rick was really supportive and positive and just said, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And so we got into that sort of rock world with the Kelly Gang. And it's kind of rock, folk rock, that stuff. Well, some of it's a bit louder than that. But, I like the Mother of All Storms, I like to move towards that kind of stuff. But I guess I always come back to the acoustic guitar, and I don't try to be anything else.
Yep.
And in fact, Songs for Hemingway, when Justin and I were talking about it, I said to him, I want to do a record where there's no electric instruments and there's no electric guitar. There's a little bit of Moog keyboards on a couple of songs, but generally it's all acoustic, that record. And you can hear
what was the biggest drive for that?
Probably just going back to that. I'd just been thinking at the time, about going back to that. What was the first thing you fell in love with? And it's weird. You go into the studio with all good intentions. I've done it before where you think it's going to be really stripped back, but then you get all these sounds up and, before you know it, you mentioned before came on air, excuse me, you mentioned reading minds. Well, there's a lot of texture to that and sort of that Lanois thing. And the album goes a certain way and it's great and you like it. But I wanted to go into Songs for Hemingway with a real plan to try and keep it as acoustic as possible, and we managed to do that. And I think, and Justin also thinks that we're onto something.
Well, I think you're onto something. It's a beautiful album, and it's one that I don't like to title it as an easy list, just necessarily an easy listen, but it's definitely an album that you can play and you can play right through, which is very rare in today's world. A lot of bands and musos have a real mix on their albums. They're kind of, it seems to be a little bit of everything in some instances, or different directions that albums have been compiled from. But this one just has very much an easy listen. All of a sudden you're onto the last track. And I think that's when you know there's something special about it, something magic.
Oh, great. Thanks.
What was the last album you listened all the way through? Was there one that you can think of? Because we don't really get a chance these days, whether it was a long drive or whether it was a sit back and actually get to turn an album over again and listen to the B-side.
I've just driven back from North Queensland listening to Wrecking Ball, which is another beautiful record, beautiful sounding record. Just trying to think. Sometimes when people ask me these questions, I've got to pull out my phone.
That's okay. There's nothing better than a good driving album.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
just while you're going through that, I'm a massive, obviously Midnight Oil fan, and I'm really interested to think that, you kind of walked into the room and you had these, I guess, musical gods in some respect to even yourself, and big influences to your style and scene, to play with, Martin Rotsey and Rob Hirst and guys that are, really would have locked down, the back of where the band was. But did you have one of those moments in the room where you, I don't know, maybe doubted yourself for a minute, and then obviously got comfortable, and that gave you the ability to really reach your potential?
Oh, look, back then, I had a lot of fear, and you just keep going, hold on almost, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
But I think Rick, who I mentioned, he's still a dear friend to this day. He was just, you meet guys in the arts, and I've done it for other artists as well, where he just said, it's going to be fine, let's do it. What it did do for me more than anything, those guys, without mentioning individual names, but a lot of those guys are very, very particular, and they really raised the bar. I really felt if I'm going to turn up and work with these guys, I better do some work. I wasn't going to turn up with half ideas. And I think my calling card was my songwriting. And I worked hard on the songs, certainly the songs that we built up to do that record, because I felt that, if I'm going to be in that company, I better pull my socks up. Because when I was younger, I was quite lazy. I just write a song, play it, bang, 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 write the lyrics, and that'll do. And a lot of them work really great. But these days, I spend a lot more time on the little things. In those days, it was just that works. Let's do it.
Sure. And how did the name Kelly Gang come about? Obviously, with a reference, but
okay.
There
you go. You've raised a good one. Peter Carey's novel, The True History of the Kelly Gang, and my surname obviously is Nolan, and Sidney Nolan, the great Australian painter, Victorian boy, who's long gone now, but I've always loved his Kelly and the Bush series. It's phenomenal painting, and you see it I think he's bequeathed a lot of it to the National Gallery in Canberra. And I always referred to him as Uncle Sid, just joke. I'm not, as far as I know, I'm not related to him, but so Rick and I really wanted an Australian name, and so we came up with the Kelly Gang. And then if you have a look at that artwork on that record too, I don't know if you know, but what the artwork, that is the Kelly images. And
right.
We were in the studio, and I said I should go to the National Gallery and get the rights to them. And a couple of the boys said, "Oh, we tried that back in such and such with this, but you'll never get it." And within a couple of days, the National Gallery, we made the application. They gave us the rights to use that work. So that was pretty exciting.
Beautiful. Great. We talked about tributes and paying homage to other artists, and obviously a visual art in that respect. But beautiful tie-in. Fantastic tie-in.
Yeah.
I just want to play just two more songs before we kind of finish. Thanks for being generous with your time. We're going to play just a little bit of She Knew.
Sure.
Goes back not too long ago, but this is a beautiful little number called She Knew.
Look around at the world you found, it's amazing. You took your time, no sweet 17. You told her you'd be king. You told her you loved her, she knew. In my mind, I failed you. Come on, boy, put that whip away. Imperfect, yeah, undoubted. I told her I loved her, she knew. So darling, keep the light on tonight. I believe in ghosts. I need you sleeping next to me. You're the one I love the most. So kindly will you remind me that I told her I loved her, she knew.
There you go. She Knew. That's great. I love this song. Sorry, going back a little bit there. Great cover as well for this single. Yeah, tell us a little bit about some of the art, and how do you go about choosing some of the art for your singles? I think it's a great kind of back catalogue of combining art and music. This one in particular, She Knew. Where did this one come from?
Had a couple of people mention that. That was I was at a preschool with some friends and their kids, and it was a bunch of kids had drawn they must have had to do it in red, but they were all these pictures they had to draw. They were given a subject. I'm not sure what subject it was, but they were all really cute, quite similar but quite different. And I literally just photographed them all with my iPhone, and then organised the guy that organised the cover, the digital cover you just showed before, gave him a bit of a brief, and then we came up with a cover like that. So it was just a series of photos I took on my iPhone, jumbled together.
Great combination. Just one that really jumped out as I was flicking through your kind of back catalogue, and thought I'd talk through that one. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on a couple of other things here. Have you got a favourite in respect of guitars for you?
that I play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty lucky. Look, there's some guys I know that have got 1943 Martin D28s that are worth $500,000. So it's nothing like that. But in terms of electrics, I've got a Gretsch. I've had Telecasters and everything else. I've got a Gretsch Country Gentleman that's a good guitar, particularly to cover finger picking and strumming. I'm thinking of buying a Strat, but my real prized possessions are my acoustic guitars, and I've got a '57 J50 that's been beaten up and battered, but just keeps delivering a beautiful guitar that I bought in the States. A 1964 0021, which is, do you know the Martin 0021 Brazilian rosewood?
I don't.
It's like a 0028, but the 21 indicates a lesser appointment, so the appointments are less. But the Brazilian rosewood is still one of the features of that guitar. That's a beautiful guitar. That's very special to me because I kind of bought that after my mother died. So I wanted to sort of I wanted to signify losing mum with that guitar. I've got a Martin D28, 1962. What else? I've got a national resonator that I play. So, but look, it's hard. I really don't have a favorite of those that I just mentioned, because I'll pick one up and put it away and thinking this is my favorite, and then I'll restring something that, say, for example, lately it's been the J50, and I'll restring that and I go, this is fantastic too. So yeah, I just love them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, do you go through phases with guitars and have loves and favorites, and then pick up one and go, oh no, I still love this one, restring it, and it's all brand new again? It's a love that I admire when I watch and talk to musicians about their passion for, almost like car collectors. Everyone has a collection of something, but musical instruments, and the level of detail that musos talk through, and whether it be pedals and combinations and chasing a certain sound, that's an endless journey, isn't it?
It is. I find too, the more you're playing, the more you pick up the guitar's nuances, and you start trying to find the right set of strings. You know, you work out the gauge, but then you like these strings because the bottom end sounds good, but the top end, you know, needs something bulkier. It's bizarre, but yeah, you do get definitely go down a rabbit hole trying to get them sounding good. You know, no doubt.
All right, we're going to play one last more song called "All the Ships in the Ocean." It's a beautiful, just the title alone makes me just relax, which is really nice. And it could emit a moment of chaos when you do look out into the ocean sometimes, and there is all those ships out there, but this is a beautiful one. So here we go with "All the Ships in the Ocean."
One crystal morning, there's trouble I see, and word round the world it's following me. There's somebody running, but blind as she. She's not looking, don't care about me. Will you come to all the ships in the ocean with me? What's a people can anyone show? What's a nation? Does anyone know? If somebody whispers, if somebody screams, somebody calls you on somebody's dream, will you come to all the ships in the ocean with me?
There you go. I'm going to leave you hanging again. Make sure you jump on YouTube or jacknolan.com. Please jump on Jack Nolan Music and check out some of this great music from Jack. It's been a journey, Jack, fair to say, in amongst your life. I think looking at you and talking to you, you seem quite a level, reserved, peaceful man now. I'm sure that's a little bit different behind the scenes at times, but a content Jack Nolan at this point in your life.
That's a fair comment. You know, from a former wild child, that's fair.
Sure. And if there's one word of wisdom you can give to a young muso now, kind of thinking back on your journey, what would it be? Because I mean, hold on was a very pertinent term for tonight. But you know, is there something you can kind of leave us with?
Yeah, let go of the outcome. Don't just. For me, it's all about writing it as best you can, recording it as best you can with the budget you've got, releasing it, but not getting too caught up in the future. Just do that. And if you're doing it for the love of it, let go of the outcomes. That's how I've been the happiest with writing. Just if you're comfortable, just do it and don't worry too much, because the world is so fast now. And in my case, I'm a lot older, so you know I'm not doing it for accolades. I'm doing it because I'm a writer. So that would be my advice, actually. If you're a writer, then write.
Yeah, beautiful. And understand, you know, I suppose pay respect to the magic you can have in the room sometimes during a recording process and other people's influence in amongst the band. Let's just touch on, you know, this recording, the latest one, Songs for Hemingway, recorded in Nashville. Talk to me about why Nashville for you on this particular album. And, you know, is that any different to what you've done before, or is it just the way you wanted to do this one?
Songs for Hemingway is the third record I've done in Nashville. The Kelly Gang and all my albums before that was always about getting the band together, and guys like Hamish Stewart and Alexander Hewitts and all the bass player and the drummer, they were busy guys, and you'd get 2 days here, 4 days there. And it was difficult because I was working, running a business and providing for a family, and trying to get the album together was always difficult. And there's a guy that I've done a lot of live work with. He's a very good mate. I've done recent live work with him too. Travis New, you might know Travis. He's currently playing with Andrew Farris. He plays with a lot of the guys in that scene. Great guitar player. And he'd lived in Nashville, and this was some years ago. And I was just explaining to him the frustration of having to get everything together to go and do another record. And he said to me, ring Justin Weaver. He was a good friend of his who he knew in Nashville. And I'd sort of quizzed him and asked him why. He said, don't worry about why, you'll love him, ring Justin. So I went over and did Gabriel with him. And he's just a really great guy, very professional. And you book 10 days to get there, get acclimatized. Then you go and do 7 days in the studio, and you come home and the record's finished. You got to mix it, but it's all done in 2 weeks. And you budget and you do it sensibly. But in that way, I wasn't mucking around with 2 days here, 2 days there. And the relationship with Justin blossomed, and the people that I use over there are sort of, I always say I call them the American band. I go over there and work with them now because we know each other. They like my writing. Justin is a great player, and he covers a lot of the instruments in one. So he'll play electric, mandolin, as I mentioned. And the players that I've met over there have become great friends. I mean, if I had my way, I had a big enough following, I'd go on the road with them. So that's why I keep going back, and it's all about the people, connections with the people. So Nashville's been really good for me in that way. It's different if you're. It's been really good for me in that way now, but it was different when I was younger. You were much more involved in a vibrant, what used to be a much more vibrant live scene, and so yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, well, traveling's always a little bit more challenging these days, isn't it? Pretty hard to put dates together, get a band together, a band that helps, other than just play for love.
Yeah, yeah.
So many players and bands have been doing for so many years. But most importantly, venues need you as well, and need the beauty of live music, but also that combined with a packed room and the magic. I'd just like to thank people like yourself, Jack, for doing what you do for so many years. That incredible artistry you may just call songwriting. I'd love to have a tenth of that talent in amongst what you can do, and just like to thank you for what you do, and transporting just a young punter like myself into a room and take us away from life's hassles for an hour or so and listen to some great music. I'd like to thank you on behalf of everyone that does it and comes along to your shows.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for you being a part of it. We all play a very important role. I appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity tonight.
Yeah, it's been a great chat, and we could talk for a hell of a lot longer, but I'm also wary of your voice tonight, and we can always come back on and have a chat some other time when you're back on the road. So here we go, jacknolanmusic.com. Please jump on and check that out. I'd love to see someone buy a few albums, gift them to a friend for Christmas. I guarantee if they've never heard of Jack Nolan, they will thank you after they listen to these albums. So once again, Jack, thank you. Chris Hamilton, thanks again, mate. You've delivered another superstar for me. Look forward to chatting another time.
Yeah, and please follow me on all my socials, Jack Nolan Music, Spotify, Jack Nolan Music, Apple Music. That's where you'll find me, and the website, which you've been kind enough to put up. So thanks again, Aaron. Appreciate it. No problem. We'll post all those details in the comments for the future. So thanks, Jack. Thanks for joining me. Have a great week and enjoy the weekend, and keep writing that beautiful music. Thanks, mate.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Fantastic to spend, as I do, mention that the show's going to go for half an hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. We easily almost clocked up an hour talking to Jack about his journey, and we didn't delve too deep into some of the stuff in amongst his journey, but I'm sure, like all musicians, or like artists, or all just general people, there's a hell of a lot to unpack in everyone's life. So we could talk for a hell of a lot longer to Jack on multiple topics, but I thank Jack for joining me tonight. I look forward to the next episode. 162 is coming up next Tuesday night. We'll put some details up about that shortly, but I'd just like to thank so many artists and friends and all sorts of people that have become friends over time and joining me. Here's just a small list and taste of some of the artists that have come across the screens over the last 3 years that we started this during COVID, of literally just having a chat and talking about life, talking about how bad it was and average it was during COVID period, but so much joy has come out of it in relation to talking to artists, friends and family, and all the mental health chats and stuff we've had along the way as well. So thank you again for joining me on episode 161 of So What's Been Happening. And please jump on our link tree and follow some of our socials as well. And you never know, you might jump on and find an old episode, something you might resonate with. So look forward to having a chat to you soon, and enjoy the week. See you soon.